Hi, I'm Julia Young. I just wrote a book that's out right now called Please Don't Grab My Pussy, a rhyming presidential guide, and you're listening to So Booking Cool.
Welcome to So Booking Cool. I'm Jewel B. Today's guest is a comedy writer, stand-up comedian, actress, improviser who currently writes for and stars on the one and the only Wild 'N Out. She has written for many of your favorite shows, including Brain Games, Girl Code, Hack My Life, Impractical Jokers, TRL, Celebrity Deathmatch, and Safe Word, just to name a few. She's also produced for Deezus and Mero, and now she has written her very own book, Please Don't Grab My, a rhyming presidential guide. She is Julia Young. Julia Young, I want to thank you so much for talking to So Booking Cool, and please tell us about your wonderful new book that I can't wait to, because I got to see like the message and everything. Tell us all about it and how it got started, Julia.
Great. Yes. Am I allowed to say the full name of the book?
Yes, of course.
Okay,
of course.
Great. The book's called Please Don't Grab My Pussy, a rhyming presidential guide. And basically, after the election, I was very upset. And since I'm a comedian, the only way I know how to deal with things is through joking. So I realized I wanted to write a book about what, President Trump had said about women. So I just thought, the only way to do this is like a kid's book, a fake kid's book. So, the whole book is rhymes, and every page tells you something else you can grab besides a woman's genitalia. And there's different slang words for vagina on every single page, a lot of made up weird words. It's basically directed towards the president saying, this is what you can't do, but this is what you can do if you need to grab something. It's very silly. It's a very silly book.
And what do you hope that readers take away from Please Don't Grab My Pussy?
I hope that they get a laugh, first of all, and I hope that they, I assume people who are buying the book already don't like Trump. It's a very divisive book. I don't think Republicans are going to buy this or read this, but I hope people, realize things need to change, and obviously it's never okay to grab women by their genitalia, and just to, I guess, come away maybe with a little bit of a laugh in these very, very difficult times, because that's what is happening right now. Everything's awful, so, might as well laugh about something.
Yes. And did you know that you always would want to write a book?
I didn't know this, but I know I do like rhyming. On Wild 'N Out, I like to rap on the show. So, and in college, I did an improv group, and I used to do a lot of, rapping and rhyming. So I guess it was kind of a natural idea that I would write this. I had a lot of fun coming up with the different names and coming up with the silly rhymes. And I don't know, it's very much my brand. It's very silly pop culture oriented. So I guess it was just a matter of time before I did this. But now that it's here, I can't believe it's real. I've been working on this for 2 years. So it's very exciting that it's finally published.
Wow. And how did you go about choosing Animal Media Group as your publisher, and what was that experience like?
Sure, yeah. So I didn't know anything about book publishing at all. That's not my world. So I was using the internet to be how do I get a book published? So I found, a bunch of smaller publishing companies and some bigger ones, and just kind of wrote almost query letters, I guess, and pitching my book to them. And a lot of people said no, and a lot of people didn't respond. And so I was maybe I should just self-publish it. But then I remembered of an acquaintance who had a book published, and I looked up her publisher, and it was Animal Media. So I was all right, why not just try one more? So I emailed Animal Media Group, and I got an email back saying, yeah, we're really interested. And so that was amazing. And I worked with their publisher, Howard Shapiro, there, and he was amazing and very much was hands off in the sense where he was you do you, I'm not going to censor you. I love your idea. So, he didn't micromanage at all. It was such a pleasant process.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's really good. So how would you describe, Julia, the transition of writing for TV to writing a book?
So I guess most of my TV writing, I'm writing, jokes for other people or in other people's voices. Mm-hmm. And I would say this is definitely written in my voice and something words and jokes I could imagine saying. A lot of my TV career is kind of being a chameleon in terms of, writing jokes that like an older man from Staten Island would say, or, an 18-year-old Instagram star would say. And this is very much decidedly what I would say. And it's also, it's permanent and it's one thing. And I'm just lucky, I guess, that we're unlucky that it's still topical. That was a big, worry in writing it, that it wouldn't make sense by the time it was published. So yeah, I guess it stands alone, and I know it was a very different process than television, but really fun.
And at what point did you choose, Julia, comedy as your career path, and when did it become a passion for you?
I'd say probably in high school, probably like 11th grade. I was bullied a lot as a kid. So I guess at one point realized if you can like make fun of other people or yourself first, then you don't get bullied. So, yeah, it was in high school. And then I moved to New York right after college, and because I knew I wanted to be a comedy writer, whatever that meant. So yeah, it was a long process, in high school and college, and doing stand-up comedy and improv, and then moving to New York and trying to make it, and getting my first job, and then the harder thing, which was getting my second job, so just a long process. I've been in New York for 9 years now, and I can't imagine doing anything else. Like, I'm not also qualified to do anything else, so I'm glad it worked out.
So what advice can you give for people who, they're trying to make that dream happen, but it's taking a lot of time? Like, what steps did you take to like making it happen and then getting on Wild 'N Out?
Yeah, so I mean, my process for Wild 'N Out was also not linear. I think you have to just say yes to every opportunity. I got on Wild 'N Out because I was like consulting for them. And, I was there and people saw I was funny. And after one season, they were like, "Hey, do you want to be on camera?" And I was like, "Yes." So, that would never have happened if I hadn't, taken this consulting job with them. So I would just also say, like, I think I've succeeded in comedy and in this world because that was never not an option. Like, it was just, all right, this is what I am doing. I can't do anything else. Therefore, this will happen. So you almost have to have that attitude of there is nothing else. There's no fallback plan. This has always been the dream, and I can't see myself doing anything else. So I would say have that mentality and say yes to every opportunity, because you never know the people you're going to meet that 2 years later will randomly email you and ask you, to do a project. Because it's all about connections, especially in television and comedy. It's only about who you know. So yeah, networking is really important too.
Do you have any networking tips?
Just be nice to people. I'm really bad at networking, but I'm okay at being nice. Yeah, just keeping in touch with people and, bringing other people onto your projects, and then they'll bring you onto your projects. Yeah, staying in touch, inviting people out, just even for coffee, staying in touch, just to know what projects are happening. Also, reading the trades, figuring out what shows have just gotten greenlit, trying to figure out who's producing it, trying to get yourself in those rooms is important.
Excellent advice.
Yeah.
You've also taught creativity workshops. Could you tell us about that and what students get from those workshops and that whole experience?
Yeah. So I used to do a lot of work with Chicago City Limits, which is New York City's longest running improv company. And so through them, I did a lot of creativity workshops where we were teaching a lot of kids how to just do improv and how to be creative and how to be spontaneous. And then also older people too. So people who are in the business world who really don't have that kind of spontaneous chip in their brain and want to get better at it. With younger kids, it's a lot easier because, kids are automatically like less self-conscious at a certain age. Yeah. Once they get to high school, then they get very weird and try not to be as silly. But with younger kids, it's so much fun because they already have that spark and they want to kind of, play pretend. They want to be someone they're not. And then with adults, it's retraining them to, just have more fun and to be loose and to say yes to ideas and to not really care what people think about you. And, just helping with stage fright and confidence. It was, I always had so much fun teaching those workshops.
And you did mention earlier, Julia, that you were bullied in school. What advice can you give to people about bullying?
I would say that everyone who was bullied when they were a kid are now like, for the most part, very happy, successful people. And the ones who did the bullying, I'd say, are not. I think people who got bullied did not peak in high school and went on to become really self-assured people. For bullying, I mean, kids are the worst, middle school's the worst, and it's just about knowing like this too shall pass, and you will find your place in the world when school is over. And it's about, I guess, trying to find your group of friends or find your niche, find anything that can get you through the really hard times. And I'm also, I was growing up at a time where we didn't really have cell phones, and I cannot imagine the type of bullying that takes place now with, all these kids having smartphones and rumors starting and pictures and videos. So I feel lucky in a way that I did not grow up getting bullied via phones. I just got bullied in person.
Yeah, and what were some of those things that still kept you going?
I'd say my family. My mom definitely really helped me get through a lot of it. Just inspiring me, and she was bullied too, and she would help me get through things. And yeah, my siblings, absolutely. But I think just knowing that it was going to be over soon, and that middle school would be over soon, and like high school was so much better for me, because that's where I started doing theater and choir, and I started finding my little group of friends. But yeah, my family really helped a lot.
And how would you and speaking of like the humor and everything, and you are so talented, absolutely hilarious and wild and out. How would you describe like your approach? Like, what is your style, and what is your creative approach to being a comic?
So a lot of my comedy, I don't know if I necessarily do on Wild and Out, because it's not the right show for that, but I'd say I'm really into puns, and wordplay is a really big part of how my brain works. Mm-hmm. I'm really someone who very, I think, easily wordplay and rhymes come to my brain. I also, again, like I said, love pop culture. So I'm really kind of always know what's going on in the world in terms of current events and celebrity gossip and pop culture. It's like something that really interests me. So I'd say my type of humor is kind of campy, silly, goofy, pop culture-y, which is, maybe stupid to some people, but I find very funny.
So what are some of your favorite pop culture outlets, by the way?
I think the biggest one, I don't know if it's pop culture, but Twitter. I'm obsessed with Twitter. It's very dangerous at times, but it's just so up to the moment. And it's something I read all the time, every day. I may be addicted to it, but just to tell me what's happening in the world, what's going on. I'll read everything from like blind gossip to like the New York Times to Jezebel to Gothamist to, Shade Room, kind of everything. Mm-hmm. I want to know what's happening in politics in the world, and I also want to know what's happening with Cardi B and Nicki. Like, these are of equal importance to me.
Are you a reader, would you say? Do you have any favorite books, any favorite authors?
Yeah, I am a reader. I'm in a book club. I really like Anne Patchett, Tom Robbins. I've just been reading this detective series written by J.K. Rowling, who wrote Harry Potter. But yeah, she writes it under a different name. Mm-hmm. These like very British detective novels. So I just finished a really big one last night. I love reading. I've always loved reading. And I like that I'm in a book club also, because it doesn't like force you to read, but it makes you be like, all right, I have to get through this. And the books we read in the book club are always great. So yeah, I love to read.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Julia, I want to thank you so much for talking to So Booking Cool. It was a pleasure, and I would love to do it again in the future. I know I can't keep you too long.
Yeah, not a problem. Thank you so much for having me, and I hope everyone who's listening will buy the book. It's on Amazon, it's on my website, on my Twitter, everywhere.
Exactly, because I was going to say, how can people keep up with
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, my Twitter and Instagram are at okjulia, and website is juliabyoung.com. And you can find the book if you just Google it. Comes up on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all those places.
And if there are any final thoughts that you'd like to say, because I always welcome my guests to add anything that they wish to add.
Yeah, I guess my final thought is don't grab a woman's pussy without consent, and vote. Please, everyone vote in the midterm elections.
That is so well said. Thank you again, Julia, and to all the listeners, until next time, So Booking Cool.